50 tournaments out there. My trainer said to me, you know, you should move to New York and fight in the Golden Gloves if you want to be successful with your career. And I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I moved out to New York.
Yeah.
And I won my first Golden Gloves, and then I continually began to win, you know, 4 years. And 4 years later, I was four-time Golden Glove champ, and then I decided to turn pro, you know.
Was that a hard decision?
Not really. I was at the age limit, and I had won all the national tournaments, you know. I was a four-time Golden Glove champion. I was a two-time national Golden Glove champion. I was an amateur champion. I was a ringside world champion. You know, so at that point, it was about it's going to be either a hobby or it's going to be a professional sport for me. So I decided to turn pro.
That's cool. How do you balance that with your teaching and the other parts of your life?
It's difficult. You know, my teaching, my profession is first. Boxing is a hobby. You know, I went to college. I have my master's, you know, and I wanted to be able to do both, and I wanted to be successful in both. And sometimes it gets a little hectic, you know, with trying to be at work all day and then coming here for 2 hours, and sometimes you just don't feel like coming to the gym, but you have to come because that other person might be training a little more than you know.
Do you train every day?
Just about. Yeah.
So 5, 6 days a week,
at
7
least.
days?
Yeah, sometimes 7. Yeah.
Are there other things you do every day, like a daily something?
I mean, besides teaching, you know, I teach Monday through Friday, but not usually. I talk to my mom once a day. That's important to me. Yeah.
Is your mom still living in Massachusetts?
Yeah, my parents both live in Massachusetts. And, you know, the first 2 years of my career, they weren't very supportive when I was an amateur. It took my mom a couple of years to get to the fight, but then after, you know, a couple of years, she said, oh, I'm going to come. She came, and I remember walking to the ring, and I look over at my mom, and I see her, and she's like, you know, shaking, and I'm like, oh, God, you know, and I ended up winning the fight, and ever since then, both of my parents have been very supportive and come to the fights and bring family with them, and it's been great. Well, I mean, I think every professional fighter wants to be a world champion, you know, and my goal is to be a world champion. I'd like to fight for the NABF first, the North American Boxing Federation title. I'd like to fight for the New York State heavyweight title. And then eventually maybe the WIBA and then the WBC.
Right now, WIBA, as of yesterday, has you ranked #1.
In the U.S.
In the U.S.
Tied for 3rd in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy about that too.
That's pretty amazing for 3 professional fights.
I know. But it was 3 quick fights, and the girl I beat last was ranked #5. So when you beat somebody who's already ranked, it pushes you up higher. Yeah. So I was happy about that.
The women's boxing as a whole, what changes have you seen since you started 8 years ago?
You know, honestly, I mean, with the national tournaments, they never really treated the women the same they treated the men. I mean, for example, I made the finals, and the men were given uniforms, we were given uniforms, and the men were given new boxing shoes, but we didn't get the new boxing shoes. You know, we didn't get the warm-ups that they got. We got plain uniforms. They got nice, fancy USA boxing uniforms. So, you know, I mean, it hasn't been an Olympic qualifier. You know, this year they're taking 3 Olympic weights to the Olympics, and you know, it's been different. It's been a little different. It's not as many opportunities. There's more tournaments for the men. You know, I think that it's getting more accepted now, especially with the last 5 years. You know, so little by little, I think it's improving. But I mean, I think the women are here to stay. I think a lot of women put on good shows. I think the people like watching the women box. So, I mean, I'm hoping that it's going to be a good thing for the women. You know, I hope that the young girls that are coming up in the sport get a lot more than I got from it. You know, I hope that I can make a difference for them and kind of you know, lead a path for them to follow. You know, to be more successful in the sport because there's more opportunities for them as they're coming up now than there were for me when I started at a late age. I think it's improved in the last 5 years. I think that the Olympics are going to make a big difference for the women. You know, I mean, I just think, you know, when the women started, it wasn't as good and competitive. Now they're like top-level fighters. I mean, some of these girls fight like men, you know, including myself. You know, so I think that the Olympics are going to do a lot for the women, you know, and make them more successful, you know, give them more opportunities to be successful. I'm looking forward forward to that opportunity. You know, I'm very thankful to Lou DiBella because he doesn't, you know, Fire and I are like the only two women he's really been consistent with. One time he put Maureen Shea on a card, but, you know, her people had to pay for that. You know, it didn't cost me. He took care of me. He put me on the card. He took care of my medical expenses. He's treated me very fairly. He's been really, really a nice guy about everything, so I'm really happy about that.
Do you think that those kind of more local promoters are going to help expand the sport?
Not necessarily. I think the Olympics will help expand the sport. You know, I think that's going to be the difference. Not necessarily the local shows, because, you know, in order for you to get on a local show and to be, you know, for DiBella to even put you on the card, you have to be able to sell your tickets. You have to be a decent fighter. You know, you have to be able to bring people to the fight, and you have to be not only that, but you got to put on a good show. Nobody likes to watch boring boxing. You know, people that run or don't fight or don't punch, it's boring. Nobody wants to watch that anymore. You know, there's too many competitive fighters that are top level that people want to see.
So, would you say that that's one of the big differences between the amateurs and the pros?
The difference is basically, I mean, amateurs is you wear headgear, the gloves are heavier, you're not getting paid, you know, and it kind of weeds out the lower ones, and because the pros are not for everybody. You have to be a special fighter to be a professional fighter. So I don't know if it necessarily weeds it out, but I think it makes a difference. You know, I mean, not everybody goes from the amateurs to the pros. You know, maybe like 2 out of 100. You know, everybody. It's different when you're getting in the ring. You know, but it does take a lot of heart to get into the ring, even as an amateur. You know, to crawl into the ring. You know, it takes a lot of heart. Boxing's changed me a lot. You know, I've met a lot of new people. I've become more disciplined. It's helped me with my anger. I used to have anger management issues, you know, where I'd fly off the handle for little things, and I've learned to control my anger and channel my anger differently. And, you know, I'm more composed and things don't bother me as much. And, you know, I think it's taught me a lot of discipline with the students at school. You know, when they're out of control, I don't scream anymore. I can talk very low level, and you know, it's helped me a lot with my own anger issues and stuff. You know, so I'm happy about that. Plus, meeting all these people, traveling around the U.S. and you know, I mean, it's a team sport. You know, like Fire and I, we've been to tournaments together as amateurs, and now we're fighting pro. You know, in the same venues. So I'm happy about that. Yeah.
A sense of community, camaraderie.
Yeah, a sense of community. You know, friendships, and you know, when you can't finish what you want to do, someone else will push you to finish what you want to do. And I think that's a good thing about boxing. You know, there's always someone here that's going to support you and help you.
Who are you fighting?
I'm fighting Tansy Daniels. She's a 6-time national champion. I beat her my first year in New York at the Golden Gloves, and then she turned pro. So she's had only 4 fights in 5 years because she's 4-0. So I've had about 10 amateur fights, and then I've had my 3 pro fights.
Right, and you turned pro in June.
I turned pro in June, and I've had 3 fights. But as for me, you know, I'll just be in the gym for the next 30 days. You know, every day I'll be here training, getting ready for this fight at Foxwoods. You know, not a lot of women have even fought at Foxwoods. You know, I don't even know if Alicia Ashley has or Melissa has. I know they fought in different venues, but I'm not sure about Foxwoods. You know, I think Melissa fought at Mohegan Sun one time, but you know, this is a big opportunity for me. You know, as a woman, and I plan on going there, putting on a good show. You know, I have a lot of support coming there for me, and I'm happy about that. So.